Ava, thank you so much for joining us for Social Impact Power Chats. We really appreciate having you on.
Oh, thank you, Emily. I'm so glad to be here.
And as we do, we're going to jump right in because this is a power chat after all. So, our first question, and something I'm so excited to hear from you on because I know it's a great ride here. How did you get into social impact?
Just to kind of keep things quick with this power chat, I can't remember a time when I didn't volunteer or love volunteer, getting involved in those type of activities. I think I can remember being as young as kind of 3 or 4, and I'd always be with my mum who was volunteering while we lived abroad in Indonesia at the time. And so that really inspired me with a lot of different causes that still resonate with me today. And in my career, I just found any opportunity to integrate different elements of what we call CSR, social impact, but at the time wasn't as defined. So whether it was employee and volunteering events for engagement, or if it was incorporating nonprofits into campaigns as partners, I would just look for any opportunity to embed that into the work. And then eventually was able to actually start working in it more of a full-time dedicated role.
Amazing. You have to love moms who instill this in their parents who instill this in their families. Amazing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So, taking us to today, your work with Hootsuite and what you're up to, tell us a bit about your piece of the organization and what the raison d'etre is of your team within Hootsuite.
For sure. And it's coming up to about 7 years at Hootsuite, and it's been a really great journey because when I joined, it was very much on the marketing side with my background. And with that, I was able to kind of take the social marketing experience and work more and more with our nonprofit customers as well. And then that kind of evolved into a more dedicated CSR role, which I've been in now for about 3 years. So it's been building out our Hootsuite For Good program for employee engagement and volunteering and giving, and working on a Hoot Giving program with nonprofits. A lot of pro bono partnerships or strategic partnerships, those types of things, different industry groups. So and definitely kind of, a bit of ESG as well. Like, what does it look like working with our governance teams, and what our environmental sustainability initiatives look like?
Amazing. And just like a tearaway tip, I love what you just said, and it's true for so many people. Like, start with the job that exists, and then it can become the job that you hope it will be. And I think that's a common way that these roles evolve. So amazing to hear you
Hmm.
share that. So, thinking about your role and an initiative that you're really proud of, or a handful of initiatives that you're really proud of, would love for you to dig in, peel back the onion, as it were, for us on something that you and the team have built or are building and how it came to be and how you were able to get liftoff.
Yeah, I one of the initiatives I'm proud of is we was setting up our employee impact program called Hootsuite for Good. We won an award for it like within the first 6 months because we had really high adoption. And at the time, I was a team of one, but I definitely leveraged a lot of my internal relationships to help bring it to life. And it was a really I think the takeaway from setting that program up, which was volunteering and matching and giving focused, was finding a really good partner like Benevity to work with, who had a lot of really great best practices and content toolkits, especially when you're a team of one or a small team. Leverage all the resources around you. And then from there, working closely with the brand team. So we branded the program so that when it launched, employees were really excited about it. We made it easy to participate. We seeded accounts so that everyone came in really quickly and made donations and could see how easy it was to use the program. And then from there, we organized our first corporate events, volunteering and matching really early on. So it just kind of had all this momentum up front in the first kind of 3 to 6 months. And then it established a cadence for the following years. And now I do have a team member who is helping to kind of grow and evolve the program as people's interests change or as the environment changes. And obviously through COVID, it looked really different online than it is now to be more hybrid and in person. So really proud of that. Just, there's it was just a really great example of how to use the relationships you have to really achieve a lot if you're a small team. So investing in those relationships is a big part. And it kind of ties into one other example I'll share that I'm proud of is we had quite catastrophic flooding in BC in
Mm.
2021 around November. And we had spent a lot of time building up relationships with different industry groups. So I was a member of things like the WHO Tech Task Force, the BC Tech Social Impact Sea Council, and now Impact Cloud Coalition. And the BC Tech one, my first thought was like reaching out to them within hours of the breaking news. And then we built a coalition to support the BC relief efforts from the Canadian Red Cross. So within 48 hours, we had like 30 companies on board donating almost $1 million. And then within another couple of days, we got it over that threshold. And then that got doubled and tripled by the federal and provincial governments matching it. So we had a lot of impact in a really short amount of time. That was very much thanks to the relationships that we'd built. So I would certainly recommend investing in being a part of the communities around you. And then when those things happen, you can get advice, you can collaborate more easily, you can respond quickly as well. And then that kind of sets the ball rolling for future partnership opportunities as well.
It's so smart. And especially like place-based natural disaster philanthropy is so important and also so ripe for mistakes because it has to be fast. It can't be researched, all these things. So making sure that the treads are worn before you need them is really the
Mm-hmm.
only way, I think, to be successful in this work. So totally brilliant. And also really appreciate the tip about finding partners that you can leverage when you're a team of one, that you can bring in kind of some external expertise and tricks of the trade is also right on. So love everything that you just shared. And because this is a power chat, we're actually at the last question already, which is crazy. I feel like we could do this for so many more minutes, which is lovely. So the last question is crystal ball. You've been in this work for your whole life, actually, not even only for a decade, for your whole life. Where do you see it going, and where are you kind of putting your chips, as it were, as you think about leading this within your organization?
Certainly the kind of ESG broader lens, like social impact really rolls up into that in a lot of different ways. So it's been working more broadly across the organization. It's really important to understand what's happening and opportunities to collaborate. I think overarching of this role and many other roles is that just if you can kind of take an eagle eye view of it all and put the pieces together to address the needs of multiple teams while achieving your own goals, you're going to get, if you can make their lives easier by doing your work, that's going to help you advance your objectives. But I think in all of the years that I've done this work, it's really clear that being really clear on the goals of the organization long term and how you can advance those through your work and ensuring those align is going to help make it a little bit smoother. Because one of the questions I get a lot is, how do you get your leadership team on board or something? And if you can tie it back to those corporate goals, that is going to make your life easier. I think just kind of looking more future forward in the space, I think one of the things I find a little concerning is like there's a bit of a downward trend in terms of things like giving across the globe. And we've been working more closely with partners and nonprofits and seeing the data. And it's I think it's a notable call out because the demand for these critical services that they provide is only growing, but the cost of providing the services is growing, yet the amount of support they're receiving either from corporations or from people, individuals, that's going down. And so there's going to be a bit of a point at which nonprofits might be struggling to operate. So within the roles that we have in this space, how do we make their lives easier, make it cheaper to use the tools, help them find time to spend on important projects rather than administrative pieces related to tech stacks or operations or scheduling and measurements. So one of the things we've noticed too is companies who are doing a lot of volunteering find that, it's not always to the nonprofits benefit as much as it is to the company. So ensuring that you have a balance of how are we truly helping those in the space that need it so that they can do that really important work up front. And then we're here to help enable and empower them. So, thinking about those types of challenges that they're up against as you're thinking about your own programs relative to your corporate objectives, if you can kind of marry those pieces together, it should be a really successful and impactful initiative.
I think it's a great crystal ball. It's always on the one hand, on the other hand, right? Like, how can I make this work and get elevated, but also make sure that the company knows it's not about them? um, so I think that's a great tip, and always love seeing you marry those two seemingly disparate ideas, but turning them into a really beautiful vision at Hootsuite. And appreciate you taking the time to join us.